Good morning, Washington. How y'all doing, everybody? It's Big Dave here on Dave TV for the 17th of September, 2011. So I'm here with my big pile of newspapers for today. And the boring old Washington Post, not a lot. Look, no, not even an ad on the back page. It's kind of becoming like national public newspaper. Not a lot of ads in this thing. Paper's kind of dull. It has a predictability to it. It really needs a good kick in the ass to get them going again. I don't know. So then I get the Examiner today. There we are. As I said, I like the Examiner. It's I do like the way it's laid out. I like the way the stories are presented. I do think that the paper tends to be a little bit goofy writing. Now here we go. There's a big full page ad in here for the Accuracy in Media Conference. Look at that. Accuracy in Media Conference, Obama Nation, a day of truth. I wonder what that's, I guess that'll be negative, won't it? That even worse. Also in the Examiner, they're touting Thursday. Obama, there you don't know. Don't miss your special report in Thursday's paper. Look, he's only been president for 4 years. I mean, I kind of think we know pretty much all about it. Man, Philip Anschutz is the billionaire dude that runs this paper. He's its own biggest enemy. And then you got the Express today. I've noticed they're starting to carry these at Starbucks now. So it was hard finding the Express out here in Restoon, Virginia, but I can find it now. You know what? Isn't that a little bad little paper? If this thing was a little more widely available, I might even just cancel my Post subscription. Honestly, it's got a quick read. It's to the point. It's well designed. It's got nice page layouts, lots of color. I like this paper. In fact, maybe the Washington Post, maybe they ought to just say goodbye this and hello more of this. Maybe make a tabloid version of the Washington Post full of color with readable articles in it. That might be the way to go, because this ain't a half bad little rag. And then, of course, yeah, okay, it's a kind of a non-traditional, bizarre kind of layout. And I like it. I do like it. It's a clean layout. The new redesigned Washington USA Today, which came out on Friday, I believe. This is Monday's edition. Not a bad little paper. I mean, I think it reads well. It's certainly a more interesting paper than the Washington Post. I like the layout better. A nice weather page. A really good business section, I'll tell you, the one thing the Washington Post has gone down the toilet in the last couple of years is their business section, and this is still a really strong business section. Lots of, very much interesting stuff in this paper. I do like it. I do like the layout. I don't know, though, if that's going to save the paper. With it rising, the problem is, what the biggest problem of USA Today is? Right there, $1. I tell you, these papers, they're charging too much. USA Today is usually a second or third read. You go in there and buy your local rag, and you go throw in USA Today. Well, when it was 50 cents, people did that. But the more these papers are raising their prices, $1. New York Times is what, $2.50, $3. I think it's hurting them. I do like USA Today. I always like reading it. It's a well done paper. It certainly looks more interesting and alive than the Washington Post does today. The Post is just depressed, kind of tired paper. It looks it reads like it. It needs a redesign. I'll tell you, that wouldn't hurt it. There we go. So what's the big news today? Still no Bryan Nehman back there on WMAL. Will he show up? Big news last week was Bryan Nehman was leaving WMAL for WBAL. And then, of course, it just so happened that his wife had a baby Thursday night. He took Friday off. I guess he's still recovering from the shock of a third little baby, or a new baby in the house, third little boy. So he's taking today off, too. I don't know. They had Tori Clark on. I like Tori Clark. She and Brian Wilson hit it off well. And, in fact, they would, I think, be a pretty good morning team. But don't agree with them, but I think they do have a pretty good radio mesh there. But it'll be interesting to see if Bryan Nehman does come back. He kind of did trash WMAL a little bit in their Baltimore Sun interview last week, which told of the news that he was leaving, he kind of slammed MAL, saying, it doesn't have enough local content on it. BAL is an all local station. And I think that was one of the reasons why he said he wanted to leave, because mismanagement. He was not saying mismanagement at MAL, but he was hinting strongly at it, which we all agree with. And I think most MALers would probably agree with him too, that the station sounds too canned and that kind of thing. So be interesting to see. I'm sure, I'm pretty sure Bryan will be back on, I guess. And be interesting to see how they handle that, though. Okay? Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. What else is going on today? Okay, so as part of DCRTV's 15th anniversary this month, I promised that we're going to look back at some key editions of the paper. Not key, the paper. Let us go through my mind. The internet site. So we're picking up today. We're going back to 2007. So that's about 5 years ago, to look at how DCRTV looked back in August of 2007. So let's take a look and see what we looked like back then. Interesting, huh? And what was the big news back then? Let's see. Joe Theismann. Joe Theismann getting canned from Monday Night Football. He did an interview on the Don and Mike show, denying a feud exists between him and the Washington Post Post columnist. Okay, Theismann and Kornheiser feuding there. This was just remember Joe used to do Monday Night Football. Look at this. Revenue and circulation continue slumping at Washington Post. And they haven't stopped falling in 5 years. Jeez Louise. Look at this. 652,000 daily, 920,000 on Sunday. They're down more than 100,000 in both of those over the last 5 years. Nowhere to go but down there for the Washington Post. A new logo for WJFK. Remember this logo there? A lot of people thought that central microphone was kind of like a phallic image, but little did they know, what was this, 2007? That 2 years later, goodbye format. So anyhow, Doreen Gentzler injures her shoulder. Let's see. Red ink for Radio 1. The WJFK to ditch the free FM logo. WYPR buying a signal in Ocean City. And more about Joe Theismann leaving Monday Night Football. Paul Farhi writing that the junkies are past their peak. This is back in the day. Remember this? When the Post actually covered local radio. And Paul Farhi would write about every month or quarterly or whatever, when the radio ratings would come out. And he's writing that in 2007 that the junkies are past their peak. So 5 years later, wonder what that says. Okay. I'll let you read that. So we'll touch that one with a 10-foot pole there. Ay, Kavoikia. Bill Press and Pamela Brown. Okay, remember we used to have that Hotties contest on DCRTV, and we put the two together? Wonder who won. But this was this was according to that Fish Bowel DC site. Okay, they had come on, Bill Press. Peter Oddburn probably voted, 1,000 times for his boss there. I don't know if Peter was working there, but what the hell. Okay, here's another one. Looks like Jack's days could be numbered. A Baltimore area radio guru said some light on the mysterious spring Arbitron ratings released Friday. He reports that the Jack FM is in serious trouble. Well, it's still there 5 years later. So not everything you read on DCRTV is full of insight, is it? Well, it may be full of insight, but whatever. WAPO Radio. Remember Washington Post Radio shows signs of a ratings pulse. Here are the spring Arbitrons. Oh, wait. What were these ratings for? Okay, these are the latest radio ratings that I was reporting on. Number 1, HUR. And then we go PGC, TOP. This was back in 2007. Look at that, WJZW, 7th place. Wow. What was that, an oldies format back then, right? That's when they had that true oldies. Anyhow, no, wait, that was 2009. This was back when they were okay. No, excuse me. This is when WJZW was Smooth Jazz. It was 2009 they took on the true oldies format, I believe, wasn't it? And then that lasted till that's another year, and then they flipped it over to classic rock. Anyhow, they were doing pretty well there. So anyhow, here's the radio ratings. And WTWP 18th place. Now people were looking at such a big failure. Washington Post Radio was at 18th place, 17th place in the overalls in the 25-54. But you know what? That's the same ratings that WMAL now gets. So interesting to look. The big failure of WTWP, which was Washington Post Radio, was that Bonneville, which owned WTOP, and Washington Post did that kind of talk format there. It was 18th place and 17th place. And you know what? It's getting the same ratings that WMAL now gets, and it just shows you what kind of a failure WMAL currently is. If this station was deemed a huge failure, and Bonneville pulled the plug on them not soon after these ratings came out with that Talker 3WT for a while. But it's interesting to see that they're getting basically the same ratings that WMAL is now getting, and way better ratings than WNEW is now getting, even though CBS is still committed to that. A lesson there to be learned, huh? All right, folks, so this is 2007. Dan Snyder was looking for better signals. This is before he bought 980. And so anyhow, yeah, some really cool stuff in here. Chip Franklin and Rob Douglas are leaving Baltimore news talker WBAL. Chip went out to San Diego. I think he still does mornings there on KOGO out there. Rob Douglas went out to Denver and did a talk show that lasted up until the summer. He's kind of in between gigs at the moment. Really cool guy. Hope he's doing okay these days. And so that's that. WAPO Radio's David Burd calls Washingtonians Jaffe a liar. All right, folks. So anyhow, that's our flashback to 2007 this morning here on DCRTV.com. Don't forget, if you like the site, and you got to love it, or even if you don't like the site, but you got to read it, how about sending us a few bucks? 15th anniversary. Click on the support tab there at DCRTV and PayPal it over or mail a check. Appreciate it. Thanks for watching DCRTV. September 17th, 2012. Live long and prosper.